Hey guys, so today this is a bit of a different video. This is a response to a Facebook thread, a Facebook comment. And this one was, I'm actually part of a group on Facebook for a class of men that call themselves incels. And incel is short for involuntary celibate. And I might do a future video on this one topic, but for a very brief basic background on this is essentially men that desire connection with women, with a romantic partner, and they find themselves in a position where it feels almost that it's like hopeless to get. And this was a situation that I found myself in years ago through like 2016, 2017 through to 2020, and things really started to change around 2021. And from there, I really turned my life around and started to get out of my shell and open up more and become a very different person that I am today. And I used to spend a lot of time kind of being on these boards because I truly, on these threads and on these different communities of men, because I also felt entirely hopeless about my capacity for having a future that I wanted, for having a future at all. That I truly felt that it was hopeless. But but thankfully I turned around and I think I might do a video on that in future where I talk more deeply into that whole process. But for now, just to keep it concise, I was on this incel group, and they were talking about one guy put up a post, and it was like a conversation between him and his counselor, and he wrote this in jest. And if there's a way for me to later edit this, I don't know, I'll probably put it up somewhere here or whatever. But basically, it's like, incel says, every girl in the club fiercely rejects me on sight. He says, actual response from a female counselor, take a salsa class and use some deodorant. And most of the reactions to this are just, laughing face emojis. And this is it's obviously in jest for people that aren't aware of this group and kind of like how they talk and everything. But it's basically saying that it's poking fun at the fact that people that are rather disconnected from the feelings and the emotions of these men, they can be rather flippant with their solutions and almost kind of like miss the point and simply just say things like, oh yeah, just take a shower, bro, as if that will solve everything. And so I do get that, but I also decided to jump into the comments and speak my piece about what actually happened for me, because actually taking a salsa class actually did fully change my life around. And so I put in a longer comment. I don't know if editing permits, I'll put my comment here. And it's basically saying how when I started to flip my life around was when I decided, all right, I'm just going to go out there, put myself out there to start socializing, to speak with women, to be around women, to feel comfortable around women as well. And I decided, all right, what would be better than a class, like a classroom environment where we're all focusing on learning how to dance. I don't necessarily have to talk. So it's more of like a controlled social environment where it's not like I'm approaching random people. This is like, it's kind of like socially expected that you're going to be in close contact with women the whole time there. And I gave my little story of how I went through that whole process of how I joined, and I started panicking for the first 2 months, and then over time I felt safe to be there, and I started getting positive feedback. Lost my virginity at age 25, and learned how to socialize, and it just became a positive feedback cycle and a spiral upwards to where I am today, where speaking openly in front of people and socializing feels much, much, much easier. And yeah, I would say that that was like a huge, huge catalyst in my change. And so I gave my story there as a potential help for other brothers out there. And actually, one of the guys I was speaking to in that thread, he actually went to a salsa class and he was like, wow, this is actually great. Like, I spoke to him in some DMs, and yeah, he actually found it, and I was very, very happy for him to see that he actually enjoyed it. And brother, if you're watching this, I wish you all the best, and hope that you keep at it and get even more huge wins out of it. But yeah, back to why I'm making this video. And normally I would just write a comment, but today I just feel like making a video on this one. I don't know why, but I just do. And in response to my comment, a brother responded, and I'm not going to use his name just for privacy. A brother responded, well, one of my main issues is that I'm not shy, which ironically is not a good thing for a guy like me. People expect people like me to be shy and insecure, but I'm not. How can I help it? I can't. My looks don't match my behavior, which in turn makes me look cringe and weird to strangers. If I were shyer and less confident, there would be some groups of people that would like me more, because that way I could address their empathy and willingness to help the weaker. Not being like that, I don't fit anywhere. So, brother, I just want to say, first of all, thank you for sharing that. Because it can take a lot to share these kind of deeper things with basically strangers on the internet. And yeah, so I thank you for making a response to that. So, to your first point about where you say, well, one of my main issues is that I'm not shy, which ironically is not a good thing for a guy like me. If you're not shy, I would say that is actually quite a good thing. And why he's saying that is because in my original comment, he was responding to the fact that I mentioned that I was very shy and extraordinarily anxious and like could not barely talk to anyone. But he's saying that he is not shy, but people expect people like him to be shy. It's almost like that there's a particular role that has to be played out, that because I look a certain way, or because I'm part of a certain group, or I have certain characteristics about me, that I'm expected to behave in a certain way. And this is actually not an uncommon thing that I've noticed. Like, I've noticed in prior circles of men that I've been with. I recall like there was this one very big guy, and he looks very very warrior-like. Like he had the, he had like the sides of his head shaven, and big guy with a big beard and everything. And he mentioned that when he would walk through crowds and stuff like that, or walk through town, people would look at him and be like, oh my God, this guy's like a serious big badass and everything. But he said that as soon as that he would open his mouth or start to express who he actually was, which was a much more gentler and softer kind of man, using in his words, like a teddy bear, he said, um, it would elicit a reaction of people that he said that would almost be like disgust in a way. Not disgust, but almost like a shock of like, what the hell is this? Because he looks a certain way of like, I'm a big tough warrior guy, and then really he's just a very cuddly and like a good man, like a good solid man, and a very loving man as well. And people would see that discrepancy and go, what the hell? And it's almost like when they first see you, they'll make a snap judgment of the expectations of like how you're supposed to act. But if you break those expectations, it will cause almost like a WTF moment in their head. And in this particular case with this brother here, stating that he's not shy, but people would expect him to be shy because of the way he looks. As he says, my looks don't match my behavior. The thing is that all of that exists within the heads of other people. And actually, I would even ask, do people actually even show that? Do people actually mention that? That would be like my first question. And it's just like and I'm not doubting your experience. It's just that I would use this as a way to double check. Because sometimes and I know that I've done this myself, is that like, especially when I was dancing, like I was so certain that people were hyper fixated on how I was appearing, on how nervous I was during the start of my dance career, that I would constantly chew gum throughout class. And I did that as a way to try and calm myself down. Like I felt that I had the pressure of the entire room just watching me all the time. And there was these feelings of like, I suck. But then over time, I've come to learn that nobody was actually watching at me at all. No one gave a shit. And I had to intentionally kind of stop and put myself to watch the other people in the room and actually kind of observe, where are people looking? And over time, again and again and again, it felt like everybody was watching me. But as I looked around the room, nobody was watching me at all. If anything, everybody was watching the instructors. So from there, that was where I got like that real evidence of like, wait a minute, no one actually does give a shit. And that's okay. I can just be me. And I can, drop a lot more of the nervousness because no one is actually watching me. It's okay. No one can really gives a shit if I'm acting nervous, or if I'm in my head, I thought I was acting really fucking weird. But that's the contrary thing, is that because I was thinking I was weird in my own head, that likely caused me to act in more weird ways than usual, right? Like not keeping eye contact with people and not, like forgetting people's names and just like basically not remembering how to talk in normal ways. I'd just like fumble my words and everything because I had so much stress in my own mind. But only until I learned that no one was actually watching or giving a shit did that feeling start to lower. So I would just take a double check to see if people actually are watching you, and if they are reacting to you in that way. And if they aren't, if you actually see them and notice that they're not actually looking at you, and you realize, oh, okay, they're not actually looking at me. But this, you have to do it again and again and again. Then perhaps it would be evidence to see that, okay, maybe you can be more of who you are, and you can have that freedom to do so. Now, if you do actually get evidence that people are looking at you or possibly even judging you, like you get people saying words or even giving you maybe cruel looks or whatever, and I can understand that different cultures may be different, right? Say, for example, like with Japanese culture, for example, they're very adamant that you stay within the lines, that you dress and look within a certain particular way. And if you were to deviate from that, you would get a lot of hard, like, feedback from the people there. And if you do live in a society like that, then I would say that would be basically just their shit. Essentially, it's their, you know, if they want to hold on to that, then that's theirs. And it could be also that there may be an aspect of people just seeing that you're capable of not being shy in certain situations, especially, you know, say, for example, if you're going out and I know for me in my situations that I would go out to parties or so, and I don't drink. But I'm able to access that part of me that's not shy. And I can just go wild and have parties, right? And I would get judgment from people sometimes going like, oh, wow, you don't drink, especially in a drinking culture like Australia. It's just like, oh, wow, well, why don't you drink? But then I just say, well, that's just not me. I don't particularly care for that. And if you want to drink, if you want to do your thing, you do you, and I'll do me. And there's nothing much more that they can do about that. But when they find out that I'm still there to have a good time and just have fun, that's when they begin to go like, oh, okay, cool. He can party, he can hang, he's fun. And so if you're not shy, I guess just show that side of you that you don't need to rub it in people's faces that like, hey, fuck you, I don't care. That's more of a and I used to do that, and that was more of, I came off as a very like, I forgot what the word was, but like very fuck, I forgot what the word was. Obnoxious. That was the word. I was very obnoxious because I was trying to throw it back into people's faces of like, oh, you think I'm not meant to act in this way of like being self-expressive? Well, fuck you. I'm going to be self-expressive, but in an annoying kind of way, just to piss you off. That came off as very obnoxious, and of course, people didn't like that at all, and so I got negative feedback from that, right? And that also could be a thing that you may be finding, that it could actually, because I didn't realize at the time that I was being highly obnoxious, that I was being like in your face with like, oh, I'm just not being shy. That was me, right? And only later did I realize, oh, I was acting like a giant dickhead, and people didn't like me because I was annoying, and rightfully so. So I found that it was better that I just shut the fuck up and just stayed in the corner and didn't do anything. But at the end of the day, that was coming from me. I was acting in a way where, because I wasn't comfortable with my openness that I felt like I needed to repress, I kind of like swung the other way on the other side of the pendulum and just expressed so much to the point. Well, expressed so much in a way that was like rubbing in people's faces, almost as a fuck you, rather than just genuinely expressing from who I am and what I am. But nowadays, it's more like, okay, I'm okay to express myself, but in a way of like, because I want to, not as a fuck you, but because this is who I am, and this is just me, while also not carrying the judgment as well of like, I'm expressing myself because I want to, and not because I have to show somebody or to be better than somebody or to push back against the pressure that's pushing down on me. And what I also had to learn is that if people even did judge me, and if people did put pressure on me on the way that I expressed, it was more of a, how do I say, like a catch and release kind of thing of just like, oh, this person is putting judgment towards me. Okay, cool. Just let it slip past. And I'm just going to keep being me. And so, yeah, with that point, it's like, I would just double check, is your environment actually giving you that that information that you think you're getting? And if it's not, then great, nobody's actually looking at you. If it is, then of like negative feedback of like, hey, you should not express yourself, you should not, you should be more shy, you should be more insecure, you should be this other kind of person. If they are, if they're coming from a place of like, you know, stay within the lines, or like, this is, you look this way, therefore I think you should look this way. Like, that's their shit. And they can keep their shit. You don't have to carry it. That's their judgments, that's their own things. And if anything, they would likely be putting that on themselves in many ways as well. They would be saying to themselves of like, oh shit, I can't express myself in this particular way. I've made that unacceptable within myself. So I'm going to make sure that I make that unacceptable across the board with all the people around me. Because if that person out there can do it, there's a meaning that kind of goes underneath the layers of that. I was able to do it the whole time. I had the choice, but I don't want to face that pain of like, of saying, oh, I had that choice all the time and I didn't have to face the pressures that I've been putting on myself. That's taking responsibility for their own shit that they put on themselves, right? So that they start to spew it out onto other people. So because they don't want to take responsibility for it, they then spit it out to other people and say, you can't be expressive. And so therefore you have to be this way that I tell you to. That's their shit. And they can keep it. You don't need to carry that on yourself. And also, if you are getting feedback, negative feedback from the environment, from the people that's around you, I would also just double check. Are you unconsciously being obnoxious? Because that's a possibility. It happened to me where I wasn't aware of it. I remember like in high school, like I would literally get to the point of where I was trying to be, I was trying to be likable and funny, that in my retarded brain, I thought that slapping people on the face was a ha-ha funny joke, until I realized that I was actually hurting people. That was a painful realization, and I realized like, oh fuck, I'm actually a dickhead here, and rightfully so. Nobody was liking me during high school. I was extraordinarily obnoxious. And yeah, and then I realized like, shit, okay, people are not liking me for like valid reasons. So I would also just double check that. Maybe your desire, like check where your desire to express comes from. Is it from a place of like genuine, like in your heart of like, yeah, this feels good. I feel good about this. Or if it's feeling like it's coming from a place of tension of like, I need to do this so that I can take a pressure off of my back, or to say fuck you to these people or whatever. I was like with like a hidden agenda behind it rather than just straight expression. I would just double check that to see where that expression is coming from, because that may be coloring, because people will sense that. People will sense where you're coming from. And it's almost like when you express like that, it's almost like everybody has on their foreheads like a little ticker tape, what do you call it? Little TV screen that basically shows everything that's happening in your mind. Like that's effectively how I look at it. Like, all right, if there's shitty thoughts going through my mind, that will convey through the way that I express and that I act out in the world. But if there's like genuine good thoughts of like, I feel good and I feel like I'm having fun and I want to have fun, that will color the way that I express as well. And people will pick up on that. They'll see that, they'll get a sense of it, but you can almost like walk around and treat it as if you have like a little TV monitor on your forehead showing all of like the thoughts, because those thoughts will come out through your actions, through your body language, through the way that you speak, your tonality, the way that you express, how you express, the things that you do, the way that you make friends, the way that you interact with people just in general, even, and especially with women. Women will pick it up like super quick. That if you have like thoughts that are negative towards yourself, or going like, I got to do this, expressive gesture because I have to, people will pick up on that. And that's when they'll sense it's fake or whatever. And so maybe there too, if that relates to you, just double check. From where does your expression come from? If you actually are getting negative feedback from your environment, just double check. Maybe your actions, because I don't know you as a person. I've only just read this one comment. Like maybe the expressiveness has a undertone or a coloring of that. It's almost like it's poisoned by the negative feelings or the negative thoughts inside. And I know this because like I've done this a lot for years without realizing it, that I held a deep bitterness within me of like, fuck you to the world. And I thought I was like having fun, but I was having fun at other people's expenses, because that expression was still coming out with that poison of fuck you. And that was spreading around to everyone. And so, yeah, maybe just if that applies or if that resonates, just double check and see where is your thinking at? Where is your thoughts and feelings and emotions at when you do express? Is it coming from a place of genuine joy and fun? Because when it does come from a place of genuine joy of like, I'm having a fucking great time, people will love that. They'll feel that and they'll tap into that. And more than likely, unless you're really surrounded by a bunch of other dickheads that just hate fun and just hate positivity, if you are, please change friend groups as soon as possible. Like, it'd be best to drop those people if you can, because they'll only produce more negativity within you. But most people would respond positively to expression that's coming from a true place of joy. And if they do respond negatively to a genuine expression of joy, that's typically because they hold shit within themselves that can't take that or can't see that from other people because they can't express it themselves. And so their own poison will come out and go, you should act this particular way. You should not do that. You should be this other thing. Don't express. So, yeah, I would just double check where you're coming from as well. And he continues, yeah, my looks don't match my behavior, which in turn makes me look cringe and weird to strangers. So my looks don't match my behavior. So with that, I'd say, yeah, what's coming up for me is that if you are genuinely coming from a place of true joy within yourself, a place of actual, say, heart within yourself, of there's no underlying negative agenda of I want to say fuck you to everyone. If it's genuinely coming out, then I've found that tends to actually override the looks. Because there's this factor of sometimes it happens where people, and sometimes they can just genuinely be ugly, right? I've seen your profile picture and I wouldn't say that you would necessarily fall in that camp. You look fine, dude. But it's actual people with, say, certain disfigurements or whatever, sometimes they may carry that chip on their shoulder of, fuck you, world, why did you make me this way? And that underlying negativity poisons their expression outwards. Sorry, I just need to take a drink. Yeah. So, and that comes from their own place of I feel like shit. Therefore, it's going to color the way I express outwards. And it's going to just spread more shit. And people will tend to just run away from that. Just on an instinctive level, they'll just be like, ooh, pull away. But if it is coming from a place of joy, people will be more attracted to that. So I'd say with regards to the looks, first of all, you look fine, dude. If anything, yeah, you look fine. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Yeah, you look fine. And so I would just really importantly, just double check. Is it coming from the heart? Or is it coming from a shadow? And he continues, if I were shyer and less self-confident, there would be some groups of people that would like me more, because that way I could address their empathy and willingness to help the weaker. Not being like that, I don't fit anywhere. Going for people's empathy and almost pity in a way, I don't think there's any power in that at all. And so you'd actually be right in saying that you don't want that. Because that's not a place that you would actually want to be, where people are taking pity for you and empathy because you're weaker. If anything, yeah, it's actually not a place that you would want to go. It would actually help to reinforce a feeling of weakness within you. And why would you do that? It would, one, make you feel weaker, and two, only allow more of the shittier people that are out there to shit on you more if they do bump into you, right? So why? How would that work out positively for you? I don't understand. But yeah, I would say that that is not a. It's definitely not a grass is greener on the other side situation there. I would say just keep being you. Just be yourself. I know everyone passes that one around, but 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 I would say continue to express, continue to shine through your unique qualities and traits, because you definitely do have that within you. Certain backgrounds, loves for things, different qualities about you, style of humor, whatever it may be, a way of thinking, a way of like perspective on the world, that a certain flavor to you that is of you, that if it is pure in coming out, if you are able to check yourself and see if it's being poisoned by a shadow part of yourself, that where that shadow is basically that part of you that's like, I feel like a victim and I feel like shit and the world is pressing upon me. Fuck you, world. If it's being poisoned by that, people will sense that. So stay to your power, stay to your who you really are as a man, as a person in society, and allow your and just allow your expression to come out. And what you'll find, as I did find, is that the more of my expression that I allowed to come out, coming from a more genuine place, and coming from a more genuine place can almost feel actually more vulnerable and more scary. But if you actually lean into that, people will see that you're real. People will see that, oh, okay, this brother here, he's coming from a place of heart, and he's open, and he's positive, and he's joyous. Doesn't mean that you can't feel like shit one day. But if there's not that part of you that actively wants to spread shit around, but actively wants to see everybody else rise around you, like if you literally just keep that kind of thought looping in your head of like, yeah, I genuinely want to see joy within me and joy within others, then that will shine through. And that will color your expression in a much more positive way, in a much more attractive way, where people will want to be magnetized towards your expression. So then that way you can allow your expression to actually grow more and more and more as you get more honestly genuine about who you are. And that, to be more genuine with who you are, may actually require you to confront your shadow, confront that scary part of you that may be in pain, that may be hurting, that may feel that, fuck, I've really been fucked over by the world here, that I've been dealt a bad hand, or that may carry around a self-loathing, because I know that I did, and I guess parts of me still does in certain ways, where there's that part of me of like, fuck, I really just don't like myself. The person I see in the mirror, I don't fucking like him. Yeah. That was a big part of, like, I carried that around, and I really had to sit down with myself and look at that part of myself. I'm like, why do I dislike myself so much? And really sit with it. Even journal about it. And it's a fucking painful process to look at those shadowy parts of yourself. But in having awareness around those parts of yourself, you can see, where are those shadows playing through in the way that I express and the way that I bring that out into the world, the way that other people see me. Are they seeing me, or are they seeing my shadow? But understanding that part of you, that shadowy side of you, will give you better understanding of how to show the more genuine side of you. And also how to take a lot less pressure off of yourself. So, and that can be a very painful process. It can involve looking back into your past of your childhood. It can look into your future. Where for me, I looked into my future and I was like, fuck, it's truly hopeless. I'm going to basically live out into a forest and, die, live in a little cabin and die by myself. And that was very painful. But analyzing the thoughts around that, of going like, all right, why do I have these thoughts? How did I get here? And how was I putting that out into the world? Is it showing out into the world? I was like, oh yeah, shit, it is. It came out in ways of like, I would kind of have like a chip on my shoulder, or I would think that I was better than other people. And so that would kind of like, that nose up in the air kind of thing, that kind of attitude, that very slight attitude would show up. And that would make me unlikable or make me act in weird ways on a very subtle level. And I genuinely thought like, no, I'm just being me, bro. Well, I was acting out my shadows. That's what I was doing. And I didn't realize it until I started investigating it more and coming more into awareness of what it was. And working through that, how to deal with it, how to be present with it, and how to come from a place of more genuine joy. And a place of more, I want to have fun. I want to uplift myself and I want to uplift everyone else around me. So, yeah. I know this has been a rather long video, but I felt like there was multiple aspects of it that I wanted to capture that I didn't really know how to capture within a comment. So I guess that's why I made this video. And yeah, I would just say in summary, just check if the feedback from your environment that you're perceiving is actually true. If it is truly negative, and if it is, just double check yourself and see what it is that you may be doing without consciously realizing that may be causing this. And sometimes it's just genuinely other people that are just projecting out their own shit onto the world. So, with those possibilities there, I hope that you find these useful carrying forward. I wish all the best to you, brother, in your journey forward. And I hope that these are helpful to you. And I hope that you'll find a lot of success in reflecting upon yourself and seeing and coming into awareness of these shadowy parts of yourself, if you have them, and into finding much more joy in expressing with other people and being out there in the world. And I hope that you truly do live a happier, healthier, and much more richer, more expressive life that is filled with love and joy. I really do hope that for you. And to any of you other people out there watching, I hope that this also helps you as well. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate you all watching it. And thank you. And I'll catch you next time.